What's going on, guys? My name is Triforce Addiction. Just so you guys know, ignore the background noise. It's just me drying off my clothes. Well, in the machine, of course. But yeah, as promised, I am going to be making the video for the PDW versus the CBR4, since they are very, very similar weapons in various sort of ways. So in some way, they are basically the P90, but in their own separate ways. I mean, in Black Ops 2, they had this weapon called the PDW, which pretty much served as the P90. I don't really think that there was any, extension options for the mag in that game as well. Unfortunately, here, we could only have a 50-round mag, and that's it. There's no stopping power, there's no 55 or no 60-round mag. It's just 50, take it or leave it. The same applies to the CBR4. You can't change any sort of mag for the weapon. It's always just going to be the 50-round mag. But of course, it's the range differences as well as the stability that sets them apart from each other. So a lot of people do say that they like the PDW, a lot of other people say that they like the CBR4. So here we're going to determine which one is actually better. So of course, both of these weapons have their strong points. For example, the PDW does have a better iron sight by default, and that's only if you don't actually put any legendary skin on it or any sort of, I guess, structure changing skin like epic skins or such. For the P90, or I guess the CBR4, the iron sight isn't really as great. It's more obstructing unless you use the mythic variant. But in this video, we're just going to go by default. We're not going to compare legendary skins to one another. So yeah, like I said, the CBR4 has a much weaker type of iron sight. There's not really much to say about it, but it does still work, but it's not as great as the PDW, where it's just one little spike in the middle. So of course, historically for this game, this was one of the first weapons to ever be released, and that's mainly because it pretty much came with the game. It was one of the first SMGs alongside the RUS-79U. And at its time, it was quite a monster, and that's mainly because we didn't have a gunsmith, so every gun had their own set of range, or like there was nothing to really extend the range unless you use a long barrel, which was not really providing any sort of downside for the weapon during that time. Now it's not really, it's probably one of the worst SMGs in this game as of right now. But before, it was probably one of the most used SMGs. And yeah, oh my god, I still have like a lot of PTSD nightmares. And it actually wasn't from the people using it, from actual players. This was actually from bots. If you guys remember, bots had a different type of overpowered feature before they were able to see through walls. They had this thing where when they would slide, they would hip fire, but they would land every single shot. And this would apply, even when you're across the map. It was insane how overpowered that was. And the one weapon that they would use the most was the PDW when they were sliding. I mean, before, when I was going against some other real players, I mean, yeah, it was a nightmare to go against, especially people with the Royal Crimson variant. I used to call it the Royal Douchebag variant because, I mean, anyone that used that weapon to me was just a douchebag. But yeah, I mean, it was good at its time, but now it's not really a weapon that anyone would want to use, specifically now where we have like an MX9, which is like 10 times better than this thing, including the M13. So yeah, oh yeah, believe it or not, in one of my streams, the M13 actually resulted in me slamming my controller. So yeah, don't worry guys, I have a new one. I have like a bunch of spares anyways. But yeah, let's actually move on to the CBR4. Well, actually, no, not yet. Because we still had to talk about the stability as well as the movement. So the overall movement speed for this weapon is a lot faster than the CBR4, at least when it comes to ADS movement speed. But when it comes to stability, I think it does outshine the CBR by a lot because it doesn't really have any sort of horizontal recoil. It does have vertical recoil, but not as much, meaning that you could actually take out your enemies at a pretty long range without any problems. So now we're done talking about this. Let's move on to the CBR4. So the CBR4 is pretty much the Modern Warfare counterpart for, I guess, the PDW. Like I said, it has the same mag options. Well, by the same, I mean like they don't have really any mag options. But yeah, I will say that the damage for this weapon is a lot higher than it is for the PDW, meaning that you could actually four-shot people from a longer range, and it's a little bit more lenient with its hitboxes. Even if you shoot in the head, I think the damage is, I believe, like over 30. I haven't really checked, but yes, from what I remember, it was at least in the 30s. I think it was like 31 or something like that. But yeah, it has overall pretty much higher damage than the PDW, but it does come with downsides. One of the biggest issues, and I know a lot of people have complained about this about the P90, is the fact that it has a lot of horizontal recoil, and I mean a lot. I mean, they did reduce it in this Season 11 update, but even now, there's still quite a bit of horizontal recoil, some that people might not like. Also, I forgot to mention this, in terms of attachments, this one actually does have reduced effects compared to the PDW counterpart. And what I mean by that is that when you use a monolithic suppressor, it typically gives you a 25% range boost, but unfortunately for this weapon, it only gives you a 10%. This also applies to the barrels. For, I guess, the extended light barrels on the PDW, it does give you like 20%, but if you do use the marksman, I believe it's like 30%. Unfortunately here, if you do use the marksman, I think it's only like maybe 20%, while the monolithic is at, I think, wait, it's 10%. Am I right? So yeah, like the maximum range difference that you can have is like 30%, and that's it. And for good reason, obviously, because this is a much stronger weapon than the PDW. So overall, that's really the comparison I can give you. I mean, like I said, I think a lot of people are going to prefer the CBR4 a little bit more because of its damage output. And, you know, I'm pretty sure people don't really mind putting some sort of attachment that could kind of alleviate the horizontal recoil issue. Once you do that, this weapon's pretty much a laser. But fortunately for the PDW, you don't really have to do anything like that. If anything, you don't really have to put any sort of recoil stability attachments for it. It's pretty much a laser the way it is, but like I said, it doesn't really go well with damage. I think the best that I can do to the body is what, 24, and that's pretty much it. So yeah, I mean, if you do land a headshot, it's 26, but I think you need like what, 2 headshots in order to even get a 4 shot. So yeah, it's a pretty weak weapon right now. Hopefully if another legendary comes out, it could probably get buffed, but as of right now, the CBR4 is the better choice. So anyways, hope you guys enjoy. Make sure to leave a like, make sure to subscribe for some more COD Mobile content, and I'll see you guys next time. Thank you.